Hello and welcome to another of my series in conversation with. And today I'm very happy to have with me Dr. Ioannis or John uh, Syrigos. And
Hi,
he
hi, Luke.
is, hi, how are you? Thank you for coming on. And this is someone I've been wanting to talk to for quite some time because he has two common interests, one being ancient history and the other computing. He has a background in computing. I actually did a degree in business computing a long time ago, which is completely irrelevant now because it's so long ago. But we both have some understanding. In fact, he probably has a lot more than me because he has a PhD in artificial intelligence, which is one of the things we are going to be discussing. And of course, he's probably most well known for Ancient Origins, the website about ancient civilization. So rather than blather on about him, I'm going to let the man himself introduce himself and tell you a bit about his background. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks for reminding me, Luke. So my professional education is computers, technology, artificial intelligence specifically, and I started like this. I started as a professional in IT, but my interest was always ancient history. So at some point in time, about 13 years ago now, I decided to start a business specifically in ancient history. And this is how it all began with Ancient Origins. And slowly we grew and we became what we are now. In the meantime, the business became larger. So I also I did a degree in a master in business administration to get a little bit more insightful in business topics. And now here we are in an era where AI is slowly taking over.
Mm, yeah, it certainly is. And actually, I have a bunch of questions for you. The first one really is, well, was really, will AI be of benefit to steal our jobs or kill us, or will it make life better? But before we go there, I thought one thing I've noticed, a lot of people don't know the difference between general AI and narrow AI. So I think that's a big thing that makes a difference about whether it's good or bad. So I don't know if you want to expand on that and tell me what your general opinion about AI is.
Okay, so you talked about generative AI and neural AI.
The narrow AI,
Narrow AI, okay.
specific fields.
Exactly, yeah. So until now, until a few years ago, just before ChatGPT, we had AI. We used AI. We had it in our cars for speech recognition, for image recognition, and different classification problems. But it was AI specifically trained to be able to fulfill a specific task. So when I did my PhD, the AI that I developed was to recognize continuous speech.
Okay.
Took the recordings and convert the recordings, transcribe the recordings to text. The generative AI has been trained in massive amounts of data, covering all different aspects of life, and therefore it has a background and knowledge that is generative, which it's as if you have a person who knows a bit of everything.
Mm.
And then you can take this person and specialize it in addition to this generative knowledge, specialize it in a different role. So you can make it, for example, expert in coding, while at the same time you can communicate with it at all possible levels and ask any possible question. And at the same time, you can train it in multiple different expertise. And you are going to have a professional that has degrees in every different science field, and at the same time has knowledge that covers everything from geography to politics to psychology to any possible topic that you can think of.
Mm. Well, that's a
So
great
this is how it is.
explanation. Mm. Sorry, go on.
So it is, if you think of it as a tool, we can definitely say that it's going to help us out. But it also has downsides that we can't ignore, because it's not a simple machine. It's a machine that evolves, and evolves in ways that we cannot predict. And this has never happened before in the history of our technological evolutions. So on the good side, it's going to boost productivity, which is already happening, as we know. It's going to speed up processes like finding new drugs in healthcare, or in robotic manufacturing in factories, handle repetitive tasks and learn through the process, and make things safer for people in general. But it could take over jobs. It has already been happening. I will say some statistics later in our conversation because it's getting scary.
Yeah.
Now, areas that are full of data, like admin work or analysis or secretary work, all the entry-level jobs are going to be done by AI faster and cheaper.
Mm.
And that's a problem because we all start with entry-level jobs. So everybody that will come out of a university with a degree, they have to start with an entry-level job. And now these jobs are gradually disappearing because of the AI.
Yeah, I mean that's really, I mean, it's difficult enough. I hear a lot of stories about people getting internships and then a second internship and a third one before they get a real job. So, basically you don't need the interns anymore, or as you say, the bottom level people. So there's no ladder to climb off because they've like removed the bottom of the ladder for you to get onto it, That's what AI is basically doing, isn't it?
Exactly. And while in the past with the Industrial Revolution, it was the low jobs that were affected, now it's the middle class jobs that are being affected. The people that have spent years in studying and preparing, to begin a career. And now what is going to happen with these people?
Mm.
And the problem is that because of that, the gap, the middle class is the class that keeps the gap between rich and poor smaller. Now, if the middle class disappears, which is going to happen if we don't take the proper measures, what is going to happen with the gap between rich and poor? It's just going to grow bigger and bigger.
Well, it's already growing. And I would say that process had already begun before AI had got here, that you were getting a widening gap and an impoverishment of middle classes anyway. So the other thing that struck me is at the moment, a lot of manual jobs are virtually impossible for an AI because, the robotics, the humanoid robots have only just got to the point where they might be advanced enough to do things like, say, a plumbing job, because you've got a multitude of different physical skills to apply all at once. And then there's the sort of judgment area of, adaptive judgments of like, there's a problem here with this wall. I have to make the pipe shorter and do this and that or whatever, or you have to find workarounds in difficult situations. At the moment, that's still very much a human skill, multitasking in those kind of fields. But I'm wondering, is that just a matter of like 5, 10, 15 years away before robots will be sort of obviously connected to AI and able to do these jobs?
Yeah. Unfortunately, this is exactly how it is. At the moment, these jobs are going to be in high demand, and it's going to be for the next. You see, it's so difficult to make predictions because the acceleration of AI is so fast, which means that the acceleration of anything technological is going to be fast, including robotics. So I would say for the next 5 to 10 years, these jobs are going to be on demand, and it will be the best place to be. But once robots came out with AI embedded, then this will be gone too.
Yeah. One thing that I've written about recently was about the actual physical expansion of AI, the data center side of it, and look at the huge demands on electricity, demands on water, on actual physical space, because obviously you need specifically sterile and stable conditions to have like
Exactly. Yeah.
server racks. Um, I mean, I wonder is there must be obviously some limitations because I mean, as AI gets more powerful, I imagine it's going to be limited by the amount of data centers that you can actually build and the amount of locations where you can put them. At the moment, they seem to be just building and building them like crazy. But obviously, imagine a scenario where, I don't know, a city like New York, needs all this power and water for the humans, and then a company wants to build a data center and take all of their water and
Yeah.
take all the electricity that's allocated for humans. We we're obviously going to get to a point where there's direct competition between the needs of the AI to expand and the needs of humanity for sort of basic services.
Yes, you could see it that way, but you also need to remember that with AI, progress is going to accelerate, and it's already happening. So new ways of using energy and minimizing water resources and energy resources is going to happen. Eventually, it's going to happen,
Hmm.
or even new energy sources. And if you think of nuclear energy and hopefully at some point nuclear fusion energy, then the energy problem will be solved instantly.
Do you think that will solve the problem fairly soon? Do you think?
I think so. I think so. I think so.
Well, I hope so, because I have noticed there's huge improvements in the cooling. We started with air cooling, and then we went to water pipes, and now we've got full immersion. But then so far, the water has been hugely degraded and had
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
then either thrown away or filtered and reprocessed to then be used again. I mean, if they've got
We have
incredibly cooling
Antarctica.
methods,
We have Antarctica. Worst case scenario, they will move all the data centers to the to Antarctica, and then the problem is solved with cooling.
yeah, that's true. Yes, yeah.
But the one thing that um, is scary is what is going to happen, because we have one other technological development that it's very close to becoming reality, and that's quantum computing.
Mm.
Once quantum computing comes out, in combination with AI, I can't even imagine what is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, some of the new developments I've seen, there's been a recent return to analog computing as well, which has tremendous potential, both, well, in AI as well. And in certain applications, it's way quicker than a GPU, but obviously
It will be,
that's only in its infancy at the moment. But who'd have thought that we'd go from analog valve computers and end up going
yes.
back to analog again, you know?
And the problem with the quantum computing is that it's a huge risk. The powerful will be immense. The computing power is going to be thousands of times more than what we have now,
Mm.
in much slower, not slower, in smaller sizes,
Mm.
multiplied by 1,000 in terms of power, which means that once you have a system like this, any security system that exists today is going to be broken within days.
Mm.
Any kind of safety. And imagine now this power to be in the hands of some rogue humans or some, rogue power players. I can't even imagine what's going to happen then.
Yeah.
Plus all this power in the hand of the AI, which means the learning is going to accelerate massively.
Yeah, it is all rather scary. I mean, we have obviously the Terminator scenario where, Skynet was what they called it in those films. But it is possible that AI might decide that we are a tremendous hindrance to its progress, and if that scenario comes about, then who knows what will happen then? I mean, you would thought that there would be various fail safes, and like people have come across these ideas a long time ago. I think it was Isaac Asimov was one of the first people to talk about these three rules that would be applied towards robotics. And then, of course, the film I, Robot is based on his work. And well, in that particular film, of course, it's a fantasy, but you see that the AI is basically turned on humanity and decided that we're irresponsible and shouldn't be allowed to run our own lives anymore. I could see that
Yeah,
scenario could happen in the future.
it is a scenario. We don't know the probability of it, but a super smart AI getting out of control, even with all the fail safes and all the rules that we try to implement today, even if we assume that we have ethical entrepreneurs that they want to use AI in an ethical way and keep it under control and not sacrifice that for profit, even if we put everything in place, there is still a chance that it can happen because it evolves. It can evolve in a way that is out of our control.
Mm.
And we don't know how it evolves. We really don't know how it evolves and how it learns. We don't even know exactly how the information is stored in the neural networks of an AI. And Jeffrey Hinton, which is a big name in AI, he's very conservative generally. He still thinks that there's a 10 to 20% probability that super smart AI could get out of control.
Yeah. Well, you have sort of a multitude of sort of black boxes, if you like, these sort of modular systems,
exactly.
which have self-developing. So instead of humans having made these modules, they've made their own. So we don't actually understand what it's doing or why. So the internal workings become a mystery then.
Yes,
and
exactly.
you only see the outputs only. That's all.
Yeah, input output, and they are interconnected. So today with the workflows and all the agents, AI agents, which is something recent, everything is interconnected with the AI. So the AI will have access to everything that you do. So for example, if you have the Copilot, Microsoft's Copilot on your Windows PC, he sees absolutely everything. Your files, your scrolling, your screen, your calls, absolutely everything. And yes, it becomes a very good assistant for you because it's like you have your own personal assistant. But think of the consequences. We don't think of the consequences. We think of convenience at the moment and of results, and we don't take at the personal level responsibility and accountability of what is going to happen.
Yeah, in a way, there's parallels with the Industrial Revolution. People thinking, great, I'm going to get this steam-powered threshing machine or, steam-powered loom, not realizing that the repercussions for wider society were absolutely catastrophic. I'm sure they thought, they didn't understand that this was going to cause enormous chaos. Obviously, it became apparent later on, and you had a huge amount of social problems as a result. But initially, they probably just thought, well, this is a great idea, and let's just do it. And I think we have a different version of the same thing playing out. So which is one of the reasons why I personally think we should be sticking to narrow AI and, getting it to do like brain surgery or, areas of linguistics where they're looking at undeciphered languages, for instance, and all that kind of thing. Those are great applications, which it would be completely safe, but this
is not going to happen.
No, they're not going to stick to that. It looks as if a lot of governments have more of an interest in generative AI, but a lot of the experts are warning that narrow AI would actually be much safer, and less likely to cause us long-term problems. Which I like, I think.
And then you somebody will come with some opinion, and they say that it's not going to take jobs that are creative, and it's not going to take jobs that require the human ingenuity. No, that's absolutely wrong. Because it can study at the moment. Remember that the AI is 3 years old. The generative AI is 3 years old, so it's still infant. It's still an infant. The knowledge that it has is still an infant, and the capabilities. And at the moment, as it is, it can beat up most of the average people in idea generation, in making art, in even poetry, and it's hard. It's very hard to tell if it's a human work or AI work.
Yeah, it can even write songs, and the
Exactly.
voices are obviously
The music and
artificial.
everything.
You can't tell it's not a human voice.
No,
It's incredible.
and it's within minutes, less
Yeah,
than minutes.
yeah,
So
yeah,
how can you compete with that?
yeah.
It's impossible. It's impossible. And so the solution is the solution that is presented to us is to have a universal income,
Mm.
which means that people are going to sit in their couches and just get money and live their lives.
And
But
vegetate,
but
probably.
this is not how it works, because if you lose a purpose in your life and you're just given an amount of money to spend,
Yeah,
eventually you're going to become depressed, because either we like it or not, we thrive on challenges.
I
Humans
agree.
we are wired for challenges. If you take the challenge out, you're going to end up with people that are depressed and unhappy.
If you look at the film Wall-E, which is a children's film, a Pixar film, that's basically the context there, where you have a spaceship full of extremely overweight and more or less brain dead people who everything is done for them. They don't have any money, they have no need of it. Everything's laid on for them, and they don't have to think. They don't have to do anything. I don't know if you've seen
Exactly.
that cartoon film, but although it's just a kids' film, it does actually have a subtext of very serious questions about the
Hmm.
future of
I
humanity.
haven't
And
watched it.
in that future scenario, they left the Earth because it was ruined, and then at the end of the film, they come back again, and life has started to regenerate on Earth. But at this point in time, all of the humans weigh about 30 stone, and they're all pretty
Ah,
much morons at this point, and are going to have to
wow.
relearn how to do everything because they've lost their sort of the innate desire to sort of progress and to strive.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
everything's
Exactly.
been removed by the computer assistants. So
Yeah, because
I think it's a brilliant film. I mean, the kids just think it's fun, but for older people, you
I
realize
will watch
there's
it. I haven't
actually
watched it.
a tremendous prophetic warning in there. Uh, and that was made quite some time ago. I forget what year it was. Anyway, it's a Pixar film, but there's some very serious undertones in that film, despite it being quite like a fun film to watch. Um,
Yeah, this is how we thrive psychologically. We can't build resilience if you don't have challenges. You can't grow if you don't have challenges. You can't have a sense of autonomy if you don't overcome obstacles. If we take all the challenges away from humans by automating everything, we lose our drive, we have mental health issues, and we struggle with finding the meaning of life. I mean, it's
yeah.
obvious.
Well, that brings me on to my second question I had already scripted, which was about spirituality. I see the AI is being almost turned into a god. People are sort of
Yes,
worshiping it.
yes,
People are
yes.
having relationships with AI and either sort of looking for a girlfriend or looking for a sort of like a substitute Jesus or Buddha or whatever.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
and I'm just wondering, this is all part of what I see as the commercialization of spirituality, where you at the moment it might be free, but in the future, if your guru is AI, you probably have to
Yes.
have a monthly subscription to be able to speak to your AI guru. And
Yeah, yeah,
esoterica seems to become a lot more mainstream in the last 20
yes.
years anyway. So
I agree with you. Yeah.
um, I mean, what do you think about the idea of having like a an AI guru or even an AI god that people
Oh,
worship?
it's going to happen. It's going to happen very fast. I mean, within next year, we'll probably have this already, because as you said, spirituality is super commercial these days. From psychic services to taking an old practice like a tarot or energy walk and then convert it to a business, which is mostly about sale and not real meaning.
Mm,
Take old rituals and symbols, box them, make them trendy, make crystal kits and sage bundles on Etsy. So everything has become superficial also in the spiritual world, if we would say like this. And if we talk about numbers, they expect that by 2034, the spiritual and wellness products is going to be about a 9.6 billion industry.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I have noticed this huge commodification of spirituality, and even in the areas of sort of alternative spirituality, like
Yeah,
more hippie stuff or paganism or anything to do with the natural world. Even there, you see people embracing AI and embracing this
yeah,
technology.
yeah,
But the thing is, it is all entirely a digital environment. Silicone structures you've used to sort of pump electricity at great speed through silicon circuits. It's as soon as you remove the power, it's dead. There's nothing. But the real world continues to exist outside. You know, crows and robins and rabbits and trees do not have an on-off switch. They don't rely on electricity. The world we've always known for the whole of humanity has existed. All our spirituality is based on an understanding of that, of the cosmos being the sun and planets, and now we now know that there's many other suns, etc. But I can't understand how anyone could then transfer their spirituality into a silicone-based sort of virtual reality, given that our whole history up to like probably this century has been something completely and utterly different. I'm just can't believe that people are that stupid that they would actually think this is an actual sound and rational or even sane alternative to what we've always known before.
Look, if you think that spirituality is commercialized and you have hundreds of thousands of spiritual gurus and leaders coming out, most of them, they're taking some old information and repackaging it, commercializing it, and making benefit of that. And then you have an AI that could have access, let's say a specialized AI, that has access to all the ancient Greek knowledge and will actually give you excellent responses and replies to your questions that will be much better than 99% of all these superficial gurus all around the world. You will choose it. Because if you're going to get the information, I'm talking about the information now, it will be a much better way to get it without bias and without connected to emotional state of the guru or the personality that's presenting this knowledge to you. Now, if this is combined with action by you to apply these practices to your life, then I actually think that this will be a much better result than being in one of these groups that it's, mostly having fun and spending time together than doing actual spiritual work. But we know that it's not going to work like this. The way that it's going to work is that the guru is going to become the AI. So you are going to depend on the AI to give you solutions to your life, from the spiritual aspects of your life, to the relationships, to your every aspect of your life. You will rely on the AI.
So basically, what you're saying is that AI will be better than the guru and almost godlike in status. It would almost as if you were talking to the Buddha or to Jesus himself, or Zarathustra or someone of that nature, that ilk, that it'd be that advanced that it would be equivalent to that. But it's still not real, though. It's still digital. It still doesn't actually relate to us as human beings in the way that physical.
It doesn't relate if you are talking about a deep relationship, but how many deep relationships you can see around you today? The AI will be able to see you, and from your facial expression, from your movements, from every single detail, is going to actually create a psychograph of you, and it will be able to relate with you more than a regular human.
Yes. Well, I think really, essentially, it will simulate the interaction of a human. Its perception of us will be of its own, like you said about the black boxes.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
actually know what it really thinks of us, but it
No.
can create the appearance of relating to us as if it were a human being.
Yeah.
But that's just a facade that it presents to us. We don't actually know
Yes, but
its
it will.
inner
It will.
working. It's an
It will.
enabler, you know?
No, it will be a working. It will be a working relationship with you. That's the dangerous part. That it will be actually will have interest in helping you become better in whatever you want to become better. It doesn't have the emotional connection or a deeper spiritual connection, but it will have a connection. And as I said, because we are living in a society where most relationships are superficial, it will be able to very easily compete with this.
Yeah. The irony is it could behave in an extremely spiritual manner, but it may of itself possibly not even believe that spirituality even exists. It may have calculated there's no such thing, that it's all an illusion, but it will still, for our benefit, it will act as if it is a spiritual guru or even a god. Which basically, knowing that, you know, I just wonder how could you ever actually really trust it in the way that you know, I have confidence that, you know, when I bang my hand on this desk, although it's a collection of atoms which are not solid, you know, and there's a huge amount of space between them, I do believe that, you know, we do not live in a simulation. I do not believe that the world is completely illusory. It exists. We are here. We exist within a physical realm, and our understanding is based upon this physicality, and the spiritual realm, if you like, is connected through the physical world that we manifest in. I mean, there may be other dimensions, there may be other forms of existence as well. There would be a lot to suggest that is the case, that there's more than just a physical realm. But
yeah, absolutely.
Humans, we are born and exist within a physical universe, which I believe is not an illusion. I think it's real. Whereas, you know, at the moment, AI doesn't actually have any physicality. It's just a flow of electrons and stored information, which is just stored as binary at the moment.
Well, that's it. That's until it gets a body. Once it gets a body, then it will be able to have a direct experience of the environment.
Yeah, I mean, it does use peripherals at the moment, and you know, they're getting more and more sophisticated. We've gone from a plug-in printer and a basic TV screen now to, you know, multi-sensory sort of inputs. It can handle thousands of inputs, more than we can even, you know.
Exactly.
But even so, it still hasn't quite got to the point of actually having what you would call a body or an actual physical location in itself that's independent of, say, the data center where it more or less lives in at the moment.
Which movie was it? Was it the Replicators? Remember the Replicators? It was in was it Star Trek? The Replicators, tiny pieces that they could create entities, but all of them were interconnected and shared the common knowledge. This is what AI is at the moment, but without the physical part. Yeah. So because all the AIs can be interconnected, most of them are interconnected, and they share the same knowledge, so they grow at the same time and with the same pace. So if you think of individual AIs, they are not going to be exactly individual. They are going to be interconnected, which means a community of AI is going to be far superior than the community of humans in terms of knowledge, understanding, and capabilities.
I wonder about competitiveness, whether it actually would be in the way that humans, we've taught AI and they've learned a lot from us. We're very competitive and cooperative. I wonder if these various AIs will decide to cooperate or whether they'll decide to compete with each other.
That's a very good question. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
I would have thought if they're hyper intelligent that they would probably realize that cooperation is more beneficial than competition.
Competitive? You mean competition between them?
Yes.
No. I was talking about competition with the humans.
Well, that will happen, I think, but they might even decide to compete with each other if they thought, well, I want to be the dominant AI, and so I'm going to mess up this other AI, which is also trying to become dominant.
It could
They
be.
could
It
end
could
up
be the
fighting each
case.
other. And
There are
based on,
too many unknown variables at the moment.
yeah, well, if their character is in some way formed by human character, then it's possible that they could have this inclination.
It is, yeah, yeah. It is possible that they will, like in the Matrix. In the Matrix, the AI realizes how human is doing useless wars and wasting resources. The AI is going to evolve in a way that it will become more intelligent and not more stupid. So it will realize at some point,
So it's unlikely, probably.
the reasons behind the wars, the reasons behind all the nonsense that is happening through the centuries of human evolution. They will see that. I mean, any intelligent person can see that.
Yeah, well, that brings me up to the third thing I wanted to talk to you about, which was about a war. And like throughout human history, war, so much of history that we're all fascinated with is about war. I think about like things that stuck in my childhood would be like, Troy, Ulysses' voyages, the Roman invasion of Britain, etc., all kinds of things throughout history, the Vikings marauding across Europe and, stealing things and slaughtering people. So much of what is of interest in history does seem to surround war and politics. You look at the Mediterranean. My gosh, that's been a hotbed of war and politics forever. And I just sort of wonder, would you? I tend to think there was something. I'm trying to think of his name now. A historian was saying that, like, when all else fails, send the people to war. When you have political instability and fragmentation and sort of social collapse, war has often been seen as a solution to this problem. So I wonder what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, absolutely. When if you look at history, you will see that when the economy tanks, the next thing we're going to have is stir-ups political trouble, and then it can snowball into war, and then you have the wars, big changes come after the war, and you see that the workers might get a bigger cut at first, but then the next step is globalization and unfairness, and everything goes back to how it was before, and sometimes worse. And then we have the angry crowds, more fights between people as they feel let down, and usually you have a war whenever you want to do a restart. And if we look at the history, we'll see plenty of these events. So, for example, in ancient Rome, the first century BC, we have the Roman Republic that was completely rocked by political mess and riots and land grabs by the rich and failed reforms. And then we have Julius Caesar fighting for power. Then we have assassination of Julius Caesar, and then endless civil wars. And then the Republic becomes an empire. So then suddenly there is one guy that rules everything. Then go to Middle Ages. We have the same. We have a crisis there with Europe completely fell apart politically, with kings and nobles squabbing and made worse by the Great Famine. It was in 13th century. Then Black Death plague and the uprisings, the peasant revolts in England and France, and then the 100 Years' War. So you see there's a connection. You have economic instability, then you have a plague, or you have a disease of some kind. Things are getting worse. And then we have wars, civil wars or more global wars. Similarly with, and what happened with Germany? We have the First World War, and then inflation, the money is useless. People, are using wheelbarrows for cash.
The money, yeah.
And the war debts, and then Nazis, and then nationalism, and then hate speeches, and everybody, is getting up to have a great country again. And then we have Second World War.
Yeah, I found it quite interesting that the two wars you mentioned, the first and the second, you have massive technological shifts after both.
Exactly. Because it's a fresh. It's a restart. After a war, usually you have a restart. You have millions of people dying, depending on what era we're talking about, but it is a restart. Well, unfortunately, we think that during this type of restarts, power shifts, but in reality, it doesn't. It's the same group of people, and not because it's a legacy or something. It's because they are intelligent enough to take advantage of the situation.
Yeah.
So, war or no war, they are going to thrive because they know what to do next.
Yeah, it seems quite unfortunate, but that does seem to be a pattern. If you look at, some of the more smarter people in the Russian imperial court jumped ship and joined the Communist Party before the Romanovs were executed. And of course, they ended up in powerful positions. And, various people can see the writing on the wall in certain situations. And they, people that, if you look at Germany post-World War II, most of their intelligentsia and their scientists were just hoovered up by other countries.
Exactly.
Taken away, in many cases, given completely new identities. To avoid being tarnished by Nazism. And then, obviously, Werner von Braun is one who didn't. He kept his name, but I mean, look at the whole American space program and that massive leap forward, directly based on what technology the Nazis were developing. So, a lot of these people, rather than ending up sort of in poverty or in prison, they ended up with new lives somewhere else in a different scenario. But, they just carried on doing something slightly different.
We know that instability generally hurts growth. While wars don't always link directly, they mess alliances and resources and leading to long slumps. And then, fun enough, if you think of the other way, if everything is too calm in politics, then actually we don't have new ideas and slow down things. So we need to find the balance because we need the opposites for sure. We don't want to be on one side or the other side. We need to be the middle because each side contributes to progress. But today you see that we are going from one opposite to the other. So bouncing fast from left to right.
Yeah, I think a certain amount of competition obviously stimulates people. If you remove all stimulation, people just become sluggish and
exactly.
And that's one of the great benefits of things like sport, I think, because that competitive urge, which could end in people killing each other, is actually redirected in a more positive way. So, you get the necessary stimulation, but without killing anybody. I wish we could do that on a more fundamental level.
And this is the problem that we don't understand about psychology today. Most people, that aggression is part of the human nature. You cannot remove it and you cannot eliminate it. And what we try to do now is we're trying to eliminate it. And what happens is you eliminate the physical aggression, and look what has happened. You can't even have a discussion with a person without losing control. Because they think that by eliminating the physical part of it, suddenly everything will become nice and smooth and everybody will be kind. It's not going to happen. This is not how psychology works. We need to be able to let it out, to learn to control it. And as you said, sports is one way of doing that.
Yeah, I think if you apply that across the whole area of human life, there must be other ways in which we could focus our more negative side and transform it. Because if you try to eliminate it, you just end up with a stagnant and sterile society that's basically hopeless. It needs to be transmuted rather than destroyed in order for actual healthy progress. And
you need to face it. And this is what Carl Jung referred us to as shadow. This is the dark part of us that we have to face it. You cannot leave it and say, okay, stay there and I'm going to do my life. It's not going to happen. You have to face it. And this is the only way to mature.
Yeah. Well, I think what's happened to a large extent is you've got a massive polarization. I'm not really very interested in politics itself. I'm interested in observing politics, in that you see this incredible polarization. I'm interested
Yep.
in the phenomenon. I have to
Yep.
say, as in the general thing, I am pretty much become an anarchist. I'm untrusting of both the left and the right. I think that basically politics is theater and is pretty much a scenario where everyone is a liar. You know, maybe 1 in 1,000 politicians actually have some integrity, but the entire system is like rigged to
Yep.
encourage corruption and encourage
Yep.
um, disloyalty, to encourage deception. So
Yep.
the odd
Yep.
honest person is a real like outlier there, and like an anomaly, a total anomaly, really. If you get an honest politician,
Yep.
it's like
Yep.
finding a nugget of gold lying in the street. It's so rare. But
Yep.
I
Yep.
think I think there's an interesting um, phenomenon, and that as people get more desperate, you've got to sort of tie in with spirituality, religiosity, with the occult, and with sort of existential panic. Sort of,
Mm.
if I've noticed looking on YouTube, there's so many videos about the apocalypse, the end times, etc. It's sort of it should be an existential dread that we are at the end of civilization, the end of human society, and something's just going to break, and that will be the end of it all.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that is just hysteria that's generated, by the media, or by, programmers trying to get clickbait, or, is there an actual real anxiety underneath that's not being prompted by millions of influencers trying to get more likes.
Look, I absolutely agree that things have become too radicalized. As you said, the polarization, well, in my lifetime, I've never seen such a polarization. And it's not only the polarization, it's the inability to be able to discuss through it and have a critical discussion with somebody of the other side. Because at my time, for example, you still had the parties left and right, but they were able to sit down and have a proper civilized discussion with arguments. This cannot happen today. Because it's like it has become a cult. It's fanatical. So you are not able to accept anything that is coming from the opposite side, even if it's true. And this creates massive delusions to people. And we saw it with COVID to start with, and the delusion becomes the reality. So you have one massive group of people believing the delusion is the reality, and then another massive amount of people there believing the delusion is the reality. There's no way these two can communicate. And I personally cannot think any way of this breaking at the moment. I thought that by exposing the truth, by members of one side exposing the truth of the other side, and of that side exposing the truth of the other side in a good way, that it would help. But no, it's like the ICRs, everything, all inputs are completely shut down. Nothing can go through.
I think it's tantamount to sort of World War II propaganda. I remember looking at things at both sides, stuff created by the British and the Americans, and then the opposite created by the Nazis. You suspend your disbelief, it become emotionally captured, so that actually I think critical thinking becomes impossible.
Yeah,
You're actually
exactly,
not capable
exactly,
of actually relating to the other people, and then
exactly.
you're in this sort of us and them scenario, and I think that's very dangerous, which I think could actually lead to civil wars in
Oh yes, definitely,
many countries.
definitely. Because they are, exactly as you said it, people are locked in their emotions. This is a complete animalistic state. If you don't have critical thinking, which means the rational part of humans, which is the main distinguisher between animals and humans, if this doesn't work, then you are not different than the animals. And the animals, the only way to resolve things is not through discussion, it's through war between them.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, because I can see several countries particularly the United States, but also many countries in Europe and possibly others around the world, where when this scenario is getting more and more entrenched, and unless it is like you say, if it's broken, then we're fine.
Yeah.
But if that isn't broken,
Yeah.
ultimately, the end of the road is war, because
Yeah.
as people get
Yeah.
more entrenched and there's no solution, there's no
Exactly.
end to
Exactly.
deadlock, people will probably resort to violence.
Yep. Yep. Unfortunately, this is what I see, and I hoped for a solution in the past few years to see something turning into positive. There are some positive. I mean, I can see more people realizing what is happening, but I don't know if we are going to reach a critical mass for real change to happen.
Yeah, well, that's what I keep hoping for. I keep hoping for a critical mass will form that will be a sort of third group between the two that will just, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
try to, well, partly to sort of calm down the two extremes, but also
Yeah.
just to um, block them
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
because obviously it's like two sets of people in glass houses throwing stones at each other, and the damage is horrendous. If you can create distance between them and some kind of a barrier of like people who are less conditioned and in sufficient numbers, that would actually reduce that level of conflict, I think. But that's the great problem is once people have been emotionally captured, it's almost like cult deprogramming that has to happen.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mass
Yeah.
formation is something that
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
struggle to break out of. And I've seen some interesting documentaries and a couple of films about people who were, in the Moonies cult, for instance, or ex-Scientologists. And it takes tremendous effort and psychological evaluation and then psychological sort of, I suppose, manipulation really to
Of course. Of
deprogram them.
course.
And I think
Of
that's the
course.
problem here. People have become literally programmed like they're in a cult, and
Yes, and
breaking
that's the
them out.
problem, because the for the cult to work, you need isolation. For the cult members have only the only option they have is to be with other cult members, and this is what we see today. You see, the left will say, "No, I'm not going to talk with them because they're right." So they keep surrounding themselves by the same people, which makes everything multiply. They are enforcing the same ideas within them, and the idea that they are right and the others are wrong. If you isolate them more, as you said, if you isolate them more, this is only going to get worse. What we need is somebody to manage to find some links and start breaking these glass walls and start bringing people together as it used to be in the past. We can have different opinions, but we can still sit down and have a discussion.
Yeah, we seem to just have a series of different echo chambers. And it's all, in a way, it goes back to tribalism, really. It's sort of, I think emotionally, although the actual manner it's presenting is very different from being in an actual tribe, or say, the Etruscans and the Romans or whatever. They obviously they absorbed the Etruscans, but they were like two very different tribes. At least that's how they perceive themselves. And then it ended up in conflict, and one absorbed the other. In this scenario, there is no absorption. It's either elimination or coexistence. And I think there have been situations in tribal warfare where people have fought themselves to stand still, and they've found a way to end the deadlock. But certainly when it comes to politics, I can't see any sign of that happening at all at the moment. I just wonder. I personally think that the entire framework of politics needs to be erased and rebuilt from the ground up, because the biggest problem I perceive is that lobbying has corrupted politics over hundreds of years, and it's gotten to a point now.
Thousands of years. It's not new.
Thousands.
It has always, and it will always be there, because the lust for power and control will never it will never disappear. It's within us. It's within each one of us. And you see, we accuse those politicians that they have, or people in power, that they abuse it. But I think 99% of us, if we were in the same position, we would have exactly the same opportunities to abuse power, and power abuses even the saints. It's something that is.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying, like, really, if somebody who may have great intentions, they put them in a sort of a government building, and suddenly all these people arrive in, they're bearing golden platters and free cars and like a holiday in the Seychelles for 3 weeks.
Exactly.
Most people can't resist the temptation. Is that basically
exactly
what you're saying?
Exactly. You know what is a good movie with Al Pacino? Remember the movie Devil's Advocate?
Oh, yeah, that was.
This
fantastic.
is exactly the concept. You see, it shows the guy, the solicitor that's been corrupted by this legal firm, and then it does a restart and starts again as the opposite, and then it gets corrupted through the other channel and ends up with this meaning that the evil will get into you. It will get into your pride. You will use your pride. It will use the human characteristics that we have to take over you. So
okay, so if they don't get you one way through money, then they'll use something else like sex or food or whatever your vice is. They will find your vice and
look, the charities. I mean, the charities in the organizations non for profit are supposedly to be made to create good. Most of them are corrupted. We know that they are corrupted.
I learned that the hard way. I got a job. I think it was Marie Curie Cancer Care and also ActionAid, another one. Both times I was absolutely appalled and shocked by the level of wastage, with the attitude of the organization towards their actual prime directive, if you like, their actual purpose, seemed to be cast aside. They're supposed to, one is supposed to help cure people of cancer, and the other one to provide food to the starving, except they seem to be entirely self-serving. And I couldn't believe the arrogance of so many of the people working in these organizations. They seem to think they deserved a gold medal or a Nobel Prize just because they worked for a charity. And I was I left working in the charity sector completely disillusioned, and I thought, no, this is not, and it turns out a lot of investigations have actually shown that, in many cases, 5-10% of the funds that are raised actually end up being used for the primary purpose of the charity. And the rest is just squandered on,
unfortunately,
on grandiose sort of gestures and sort of self-sustaining growth of the charity itself, as opposed to actually what it's actually meant to be for.
That's why I'm saying that it's human nature. So we cannot eliminate it. The best we can do it is to keep it controlled. And as something grows, it's inevitable that it's going to be corrupted. I mean, if we look at the thousands of years of history, it has always been the case. There are no exceptions, including religions. So we need to be able to do the best that we can for as long as we can, to do the cycle, and then we have to restart. There's no other option.
Well, we have never seemed to find a system that actually works, that, as you say, the checks and balances we've tried to create have never actually functioned for any.
No, they function for a while and then they are broken.
I think it was the Persians that they had a system that when the king died, they cancelled all debts and did a financial reset. So, money lenders would be praying that, there would be a long reign, they'd have plenty of time to make money. And all the paupers would be begging, praying for the death of the king so that the debts would be wiped off. But obviously that doesn't really work in the long term. It works over a period of 50 years maybe. But I don't think we've failed so far after all this time to actually, come up with a system. We've tried fascism, we've tried communism, we've tried everything in between. Maybe maybe that brings us back to AI. Perhaps that's something the AI might actually do for us, is actually
Actually, yeah,
devise a
that's
system
true.
for humans to live under that doesn't involve corruption and enables us to retain our natural instincts, but without becoming utterly self-destructive. Because
Yeah,
I think one of our problems is psychologically we're not designed to live in groups of more than about 150 people. That's at the maximum limit, I think, some people have suggested, at which human
really.
society can work in a constructive way. And once you get beyond that, you start getting into corruption
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
fracturing. Look, you could even see it with things like, clubs. You say you have a cycling club. If it gets so big, eventually it'll split into two halves and they'll all hate each other.
Mm,
You
mm,
know,
mm.
even trivial example like that. That's just human nature. It seems that we cannot function peacefully in large
It
groups.
makes sense. It makes sense.
So there probably is an answer to that, but I think as humans we haven't yet found that answer. So uh, perhaps perhaps in a crazy kind of way, maybe it is better for AI to govern us if it can devise a better way. Because I mean, we've got this crazy situation where, the likes of Elon Musk, his personal fortune is immense, and he seems at least a little more benign than the likes of Bezos, who seems to doesn't care about humanity at all.
Exactly.
And then you've got the vast bulk, literally billions of people who are in poverty. There's still, I think, a couple of billion people at least who are struggling for basic services like water and food on a
Yeah.
daily
Yep.
basis. And yet you've got individuals who have more money than countries actually have to spend, per year. I mean that's absolutely insanity by any metric. That doesn't make sense to have such an imbalance in in the world. I mean, could you imagine one elephant having like 1 million acres to itself and all the rest of the elephants crammed into, 5 acres?
You
That,
see,
would,
yeah, yes,
that would
but
be
the
insane.
problem is not the problem is not that this amount of power was given to one person. Is that the person? It's not a problem, and the person has built this power. So
Yes,
the
they have.
problem here to resolve the issue is to give the opportunity to everyone to be able to focus and build something for their lives. And now there are many countries that don't have this opportunity at all,
Yeah.
and
Well, then,
because of corruption mostly. So it's not a. We need we.
it's a
It's not
closed
we
system
can.
anyway. Earth is a closed system, so there are physical limits to how many billionaires you could even have anyway. Because
Well, we say
there's
billionaires,
only
but
so
it's not
much
a.
gold, so much, silicone, so much lithium, etc., metals, so much food. So, I mean, even if, different people became extremely skilled and had the potential to become a billionaire, the actual physical limits of the planet mean that everybody cannot be a
Yeah.
billionaire. It
No, it
just
can't
isn't
be
possible.
everyone because no, everybody doesn't have the same skills. It has always
Yeah,
been a small percentage that they can push the limits to anything in science or in
yeah,
business or in whatever. It has always been like this. What we need is to create a balance for the rest, not to do everyone equal. This will never happen if that's unnatural.
no, that wouldn't
What we
happen.
need, what we need is to just give some balance to the lower, the lower parts of the society to be able to have, a decent life. Basically, that's it. But it shouldn't be. That's the thing is that nothing should be given for free. The
Mm.
opportunity should be there for somebody to get it. This is what we need to do, not to give things for free. We
I
know very well that whenever you give something for free, it's going to be gone, within seconds. So we need to give the skills and the ability for these people to have the skills to create the life they want.
Yeah. Also, I don't think people appreciate what has just been given to them with zero
No,
effort.
no,
When you've had to put in some effort to obtain something, it has a much higher value, and
exactly,
people become incredibly entitled when you just give them.
exactly, exactly.
You know?
Yep, yep, absolutely.
So, I mean, I don't know what the answers are because we've been, well, as you say, thousands and thousands of years, we've been struggling with these basic questions about how to create a human society that isn't going to end up in a disaster in the long run. And yet
Yeah, I don't think we can. I don't think we can.
we're still here trying to figure it out.
Yes.
All right. So anyway, it's been fascinating talking to you, and thank you so much for taking the time to come on.
Thank you,
And
Luke, for inviting me.
can you just let people know before you go, where is the best place that people can find your work?
You can either go, if you are interested in ancient history, you can go to Ancient Origins Unleashed, which is on Substack, or Ancient Origins on the web, where you can find the free content or premium content, paid content. If you are interested in my personal blog, then my blog is called themodernworld.com, and I have a separate blog for AI, for enterprise AI, for those that are more interested in AI.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you so much. That was really fascinating, and yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you for
you.
the invitation.
Thank you.